Here we go.
Welcome back, Washed Up Walk-Ons fans. It is my first ever intro to this podcast. Kluver is having some computer issues, probably been looking at too much illicit material, but we are back. Episode, I have no idea because I'm not the producer of this show, but we've got Ivory Kelly-Martin back for the podcast. Iro, how's it going, man?
Doing good. Happy you guys asked me to hop on here and talk a little bit about my story, kind of where I left off from, leaving Iowa and where I'm at now in life, and ready to get down.
Yeah, man. Let's hop right into the future and the present. So just got the announcement on Twitter that we're going up to Bemidji State to be a coach up there. Tell us a little bit about that, how that came about.
Yeah, so past couple of years, I've been coaching football at Baker University. I should probably start kind of a little bit closer to the beginning of it all. Once I finished playing football, I ended up getting injured up in the CFL, playing for Calgary Stampeders. After that, I kind of got to the point where, I love the game of football, but I wanted to figure out what I love most about it. And, playing just wasn't it for me. I love competing and going out there every single day and giving my max effort. But I also just love, teaching the game of football too. And that's why I finally decided to hang up the cleats and, put on a whistle and start teaching some of the things I've learned over the years through, my experiences, the coaches I've been able to learn from, and also continue to learn. Started up as a graduate assistant at Baker University for the last couple of years, coached the wide receivers my first year. Then I moved to running backs, and I reached out to one of my contacts, Brandon LeBeth. He was actually my old running backs graduate assistant at Iowa my sophomore year, and we've kind of just continued to keep a connection going. He recently just picked up the run game coordinator role up there, and just communicating through him, he ended up having a position for me, and brought me in for an interview, and now we're getting the ball rolling, be the next running backs coach. So
that's exciting stuff. It's crazy how much of a relationship game the coaching world is. It sounds like it's very hard to get your foot in the door at a coaching gig if maybe you don't know that person, but at least like a friend of a friend, like you've crossed paths with a mutual person that can like vouch for you in the past. So that's it's awesome that you're able to play that game and get your own running backs room up in Bemidji State. Tell us a little bit about the university. What's got you excited about working up there?
I think they've had a lot of recent success up there, which I'm really excited to continue to add on to that. Last 4 seasons, they've made it to the Division II championships. I made it to the third round this previous season, finishing in the top 10 of all D2 schools. And I'm excited for the room I get a chance to take over, just because they have some returners, a younger guy that was the leading rusher for their team last year, but he's coming back for his third year. So I'm excited to kind of, hone in his talents, and then also, get on my recruiting game, get a chance to go back to the Chicagoland area, recruit some of those schools that I know really well, establish some more contacts to be able to recruit, and, just give me more weapons to be able to use, kind of as I get throughout my career. But I'm excited. I'm super excited for people, new coaching staff, players, new teams I get to scheme up against, all of that, and going up north to the cold.
Well, that's awesome, man. It's awesome that you get to be able to continue and give back to the game of football, one that gave us a whole lot in our lifetime. So it's definitely special to be able to give back. So speaking of going back, let's run it back to high school, Ivo, from the Chicagoland area as well as myself. What tell us about your recruiting experience and what brought you to Iowa?
Yeah, so my recruiting experience, it started early. because I had an older brother that was being recruited. He was 2 years older than me. He played on the defensive side of the ball. So when he started going to camps, my dad was like, all right, you're going to come along too. I was coming into camps as like an 8th grader or like a high school freshman and getting a chance to compete. And the great thing kind of having an older brother, I was always hanging out with the older kids or, practicing going against the older kids. So I was used to, a little bit of a faster pace of football. And I think that showed at a lot of those camps. I went through camps all 3 of my years that I had available to go to camps. I started getting some, smaller school offers like FCS offers. Pretty much they all started hitting me up until, I think I got recognized by Wisconsin at a camp, and they kind of gave me like a offer-ish, some type of deal.
What do they call it? Non-committable offer like that? It's like we like it, but not that much. That. It's like what I think what the kids call these days is situationship or something like that.
Yeah, I don't even want to go back to it.
But he had a summer fling
after that. Then yes, it started, blowing up a little bit, and some more people started jumping on board. I think Iowa came into the game a little bit later. I think some of my early offers that I was really considering was like Illinois, Arizona, and
who was the coach back in Illinois at that time? Would have Lovie Smith come in yet?
So I can't remember the coach that had offered me, but I was really tempted to go to Illinois because they had just brought Lovie Smith. And at that time, I think I had already committed to Iowa before they brought Lovie in. But after I had committed to Iowa, Lovie started hitting me hard, because I was a home Bears fan growing up, I assume. And I was a Bears fan. It was hard to tell.
It was a smart play. I'm surprised I think it worked out okay for them as far as the talent they got in. Because he was a big name, and like all the kids remember Lovie Smith taking the Bears to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. They got some dudes. I mean, my class, they had some dudes that year, and they continue to get a couple dudes up there. They just didn't really have the success
the field. But sorry,
I think seeing things from a coach's perspective, I can see where a team might struggle. Where an NFL coach coming to the college level might struggle. But
it's a different dynamic for sure.
There's a lot you have to put in place. You got to try to have a strong foundation of, responsibility and, building good character.
Yes, because you got to focus on culture in the NFL too. But in college, these are kids, right? They're fresh out of high school. You still got to build them up as men before you can get them to even understand what a culture even is, right?
Sure.
Yeah,
it's definitely a different game.
Who might be back?
Oh,
I'm pissed, dude. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Looks clean.
A little better.
Not much.
We've just been talking a bunch of trash about you while you haven't been here. If you want to join it.
I fucking suck, dude. I'm sorry, Ivo. I promise this never, quite literally this.
I don't think I've ever seen this before. So.
Me either, brother. Me either.
Are you on the?
I don't know where we are.
Don't the internet or what? Who we got to blame on this?
Dude, I sent you the picture. My PC, I think it might have shit the bed for good. It might be gone forever.
Those free websites. Sometimes they got malware on them.
You gotta be careful.
Jesus Christ. I'm flustered to say the least.
Well, great. This is Ivory. Yeah, you're now the last guest ever on this show. Congratulations. This is the last one.
Yeah. I'm blowing this whole
PC's
thing up.
Over. Yeah.
Don't let me interrupt. Wherever you were, we should be good now. I am just a piece of shit. Just let me be the fourth guy. Whatever you were in, just keep answering that question or ask it again. I don't know where you were.
Where'd your brother end up going, by the way?
So my brother, he went to Illinois State. Yep. He played football up there. He was a defensive end or really outside linebacker, but he was like a off the edge rusher. And never got a chance to play against him. I think they played Iowa like his freshman year.
2015, we would have played him.
Yeah.
And then they played him probably just right after you left, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish he would have been.
Yep. He was there from. Yeah, he was there from 15 to I want to say like 19, 15
Okay.
19.
But that is definitely an advantage. Like I remember like my quote unquote recruiting experience, like both my older brothers were big time recruits, but you know, like I would always be along and I think that helps like at least catch the coach's eyes, like, oh, this guy's a really good recruit. He's got a younger brother. Usually there's some sort of correlation there. We can keep an eye out for this guy.
Not with Kevin, but
not with me. Didn't work out that way, but it absolutely is the reason I got my foot in the door at Iowa. Just, didn't really.
Yeah, I think I remember going to camp with my brother. It was like at a mega camp somewhere. And he was there being watched by some of the FCS coaches that, was really highly looking at him. And, it was a camp for him pretty much. I was there just trying to, get some reps pretty much. And we got to the point where they knew some of the guys running the camp knew we were brothers. And we started doing one-on-ones, getting into running routes one-on-ones. And they're calling him up and calling me up at the same time to kind of see us go head to head against each other. So I'm like, one-on-one pass route. I'm not going to I don't want to break my brother's ankles in front of his coaches. He's trying to get recognized by, So I got an option route and I'm telling them, I'm like doing a little head fake. Like I'm going to break out that way. So
are you being for real right now or are you messing with him?
I was being dead serious because I didn't want to. I knew I had time and I had already.
This can't mean nothing pretty much. I'm going to help my kid grow out.
Exactly. I
You're
was
a better brother
than leaving out the guy. And boom, we get through the rep and he step for step with me. We probably did like 2 or 3 more reps. I think I tried to help him out every single time, but one time he went the wrong way and too bad for him. But I knew I had time, and like I said, I had already did my work at that camp up in that point. And he was able to get a couple offers out of it. We helped each other that way, and I think it was great for me to be able to have that person to follow in his footsteps, kind of lead the path for me because growing up, I didn't really have that type of person to look up to, just speaking as far as my direct family, me, my brother and my sister, me and my brother were the first males from our family to go to college. And, from a very young age, my family let us know that we were going to be able to get there through our athletic abilities. That's the way we're going to be able to get to college, get a degree, and, set ourselves up in life. And I can't thank my parents enough for, instilling a lot of hard work into us at a very young age and, making us pretty disciplined in order to, have that work ethic and, want to do something without, really seeing what that other side looked like. And, now I'm living it, now I'm kind of living it, continue to work up, move up in the ranks, earn my credibility, and eventually get to where I want to get to.
Yeah, no, it's crazy the amount of influence like your parents can have on you, especially in that age. Like we unfortunately saw a lot of dudes come through that like just weren't ready for the opportunity, and I feel like it's just a shame, right? Because you get that opportunity, right? You get that scholarship to go to the university, get a degree, and then the world is your oyster after that. And, when you just don't take full advantage of it. I don't know about you, but when I would witness it, it's just like, I'm doing a very poor job of explaining this, but it just made me want to pull my hair out. I was like, come on.
No, I think what you're talking about, Kev, is just Ivo, how old are you now? 26?
Yeah. 26. 26.
And we're 30, Kev. So like that frontal lobe is fully developed, and we're both married, and like I'm about to have my second kid like maybe this weekend as we record this. And you start to the maturity thing comes around, and you're just like, man, like if you could just instill some of that in the 18-year-old who's like missing class and showing up late to workouts, like they don't understand the opportunity they have. And I wonder too, Kev, if some of those guys, I have like 3 or 4 that come to mind. I'm sure Ivo does too. Guys that came in with the class and then 5 years later, they ain't there. You wonder if they get to this point and they're like if they really regret that.
Yeah, and that's like probably one of the biggest things that pushed me to be a coach, because one, I've been there. I've lived it, It took me a while. I mean, I didn't have much, I didn't have like a crazy good foundation for like school and, being on time and stuff, coming to college, and at Iowa, they're as strict as it gets. So it took me a while to kind of get on board, but eventually, I found my way. And I've had such a, blast trying to let these young kids know that's getting into the position where I'm at now, to see their opportunity that's in front of them, to see how, if you just put maximum effort into that one thing, and go all out, you're not going to have any regrets at the end of this thing. Take full advantage of the opportunity that's right in front of your face, and see the advantage you got right now, because it's something that not everybody takes advantage of. It's hard to see at their age just because of their maturity level isn't fully there, and that's probably been my greatest like plan as a coach is put a little bit of pep in their step, let them know that go take advantage of your opportunity in front of you.
Yeah, man. Regret is deadly. It'll eat away at you every day for the rest of your life. So it's only one way to make sure you don't experience it. It's take full advantage every day that you have the opportunity.
Yep, and that's why I tell my guys, like, you'll never regret putting 100% effort
100%,
into playing the game.
100%. I mean, if you just
you never look back and be like, dang, I hate I watched too much film. When
if you just want to like
when I was in Michigan week or something like that.
If you just want to like translate it to like everyday normal life, it's like there's plenty of days where I'm not an athlete anymore, but I wake up and I don't want to work out, right? And every now and then it's like doesn't happen today. I regret those days. I never regret the day where I push through my I don't want to make myself do the workout. You never regret that, right? So it's always better to pay it out up front. So let's before Kluver gets a hard on and jumps into that one, let's bounce back to your recruiting. So you're kind of towards the end of recruiting. You're thinking about going to Iowa. Illinois kind of slips back into the back of your mind. What was the final decision between the two?
I think it was partially, I liked it was a good distance away from home, but not too far. That played a little bit of an aspect. The coaches there and the people, I kind of got to know my recruiting class and the guys I was coming in with, and I saw that we had some dudes, and I was excited to to play with them already. And the fact that Iowa's got a crazy list of or crazy statistic of a lot of their starters going on to play in the NFL, and I wanted to make it to that next level. So I thought it I mean, be a starter and get to the NFL. That seems like
I saw
a
that
good
stat.
deal.
It's actually a wild stat. It was like 85% of starters get at least the undrafted free agent or something like a rookie camp. I forget what the actual stat is, but
I think it's at least
Yeah, exactly.
They 85% made a camp the first year out. Yeah.
Not bad.
It used to be 92%, by the way.
that 2017 senior class brought that average down.
Oops.
And they're running the football really well. I think the year I was really getting recruited, they had Akin, LaShawn Daniels. They were both 1,000-yard rushers.
That was a crazy year, actually.
I
can't believe we did that.
I saw that there was opportunity out there, and they were going to let anyone kind of get a shot. I was even the most highly recruited running back in my class, but I still knew I was going to get a chance to be able to go out and show my ability, and they allowed me to do that. I was probably one of the first running backs to play as a freshman.
Long time, probably
for
close to a decade at that point. Just thinking out loud.
Would have been Weger.
Would have been Weger, or was Coker a freshman that year?
I think they might have been the same class. Yeah. I have to check.
No, Coker would have been a year or two later, I think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so you step onto campus. What are your first impressions? Any welcome to college football moments that stick out to you?
Probably, probably just seeing some of my teammates I was going to be with for the next 4 years. I saw Tristan, at a camp. I saw Tristan at a camp before, so it wasn't my first time meeting him once I got there, but it was my first time meeting AJ, and AJ was my roommate at the time. When we was sitting in the dorms during summer camp, and these guys are just massive, so that was a little bit of,
I still got beef with freshman AJ.
From new to see. I think I remember seeing Tristan and Coy on a moped together.
God.
That was wild.
Just one.
The thing wasn't moving very fast, but that walk, I can't remember what hall that was, but that walk from whatever dorm hall we were staying in all the way to the football facility every morning was not it. So,
because y'all were in. Were you guys on the other side of the river?
Yeah, we were all the way on the other side of the river by.
Wow.
You were in.
For summer.
That was for summer ball. Yep, summer ball, because they didn't. I don't know what to do now for summer ball guys, whether they stay at Pearson or what, but they wouldn't have. No one that was at
our
Pearson
freshman year. They're at Park Lawn, and then the year before, I think they put them at Mayflower, which is a hike away from. Yeah,
that's a while. Yeah. But I guess after I kind of got situated with everybody, getting started with practices and all that stuff, super fast paced. Everything moving so fast. Physicality of everything was just, miles different from what I was used to. And it took me a while, I kind of just always had the mentality to just run no matter where you're at and where you think you're going. Just make sure you're running somewhere. So every single time we'd switch periods, I didn't know what period we were getting to next, but I
remember that feeling so well. You have no idea what's going on. You just know you better not be caught walking or standing around, or don't be late. It's intimidating for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially that first camp, dude. It's tell us, your first camp, like what's going through your mind, like.
I'd say like one of the main, I think, things I remember my first camp, I think it was a Friday night practice. So they had just turned on the lights and we were having a compete period. It's probably one of the hardest hits I've still to this day I've ever taken.
Do you remember
in college football? I was running a flat route over to the left side of the field, and I'm going up to catch the football. It's kind of hung up in the air a little bit, but as I'm going up to catch the football, Miles Taylor comes down and just boom. He doesn't really hit me, but he hits me with his shoulder right in my gut as I'm stretching out for this football. And I'm just on the floor. Don't know what happened to me, but all my air is just completely out of my body. And I'm just easing, coughing, trying to, catch my breath. And then, everybody's looking at me like, you good? You good? What are you going to do? And I just remember, Coach Doyle and, KF and Brian is all looking at me, see my toughness level. And I've never been type of guy that's just going to sit out. If I'm able, I'm going to do my best to get back out there. And, that's what I did. And I think that kind of stood out and, helped me show a little bit of my toughness during that time. But still, probably one of the hardest hits I've ever taken.
Miles Taylor, man, the guy was a bulldog.
Yep.
He was like the type of guy that Coach Parker would always be like, I'd rather have to pull the leash back on you than kick you in the ass to get you go. But sometimes, man, you drive me crazy because Miles is a freaking defender in that when
he
only had one switch. Yeah.
He had two speeds. It was either he wasn't going or he was all the way going.
Yeah. Tremendous.
Yep. Exactly. He caught me one. He caught the freshman that one day. So
well, it's a good thing you hopped right back up because if you laid on the ground, you'd just been like, all right, let's move the drill up another 10 yards. Let's go.
Yep, exactly.
Practice don't wait on you. Doesn't matter what's going on.
It was a red zone period, so I don't think there was a chance of them flipping fields.
Red zone compete periods were always the most fun. I don't know about you.
Yeah,
about you.
Without a doubt. You got to stop us. You got to stop us
Dude,
in the end zone. Usually,
echo that from the specialist standpoint too. That was so sick to watch you guys because when they made it compete in the red zone, y'all got hype.
Oh yeah, the jawing got a little bit more intense. It was fun. That's it's one of the cool ways that they made practice fun, for sure. Is the competitive nature of it. You just got 100 competitive dudes. Nobody wants to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I love a good one-on-ones, ones versus ones compete period. Let's get it on and popping. Ain't nothing else like it. You can simulate a game.
Did you find your way on a special teams your freshman year?
I did. I think I started off kick returning, and I was doing some punt stuff too.
That's right. Punt. That's right. Yeah.
And I think I kind of relate them both as far as helping me getting onto the field, offensively. I think a little bit of my toughness and, my kind of just mentality when I ran the football of always trying to deliver a blow anytime somebody tried to tackle me, help me, but then push me a little bit forward on the special team side of the ball, but also just my effort when I finally did get a chance to get in one of those special teams positions. Push me forward as far as, all right, now this guy could really be an option on game day to be able to use in the backfield just because they were already going to use me on the special teams.
Yeah, no, they definitely if you show that you can ball out on special teams, they'll find a way to get you on the field more often. Case in point for you, it's like, this is a dude that we trust to get the job done when he's asked, and we'll give him the rock. We don't care. Because the running back room that year was a bunch of new faces. So we had Akram, obviously. LaShawn had just graduated. And then what did we bring in? We brought in Makai. So he's a fresh face to the room. But I think
Makai was –
No, sorry.
My freshman year.
Not Makai.
We had James?
Marcel.
James. We brought in James.
Butler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, James Butler.
But I'm pretty sure Akron was like the only one who had taken meaningful snaps in the room that going into that year. So, what was let's see, who would have been the coach back then? Was it White still?
It was Brian.
Yeah. So what was his message to the rooms like as far as, hey, we don't know who else is getting the ball this year. Any
Yeah.
memories of what the air of the room was like?
Yeah, I think it was pretty much like an open floor for opportunity, pretty much, because they had the previous season where they had 2,000-yard rushers, so it's like, well, your previous 1,000-yard rusher still here, but everybody else, it's kind of all starting from scratch. So it was opportunity to be had out there. It was a depth chart already set, and with James coming in, he had already had a really proven resume coming from Nevada, and being a 1,000-yard rusher, and hell of a player up there. So it was like wasn't really clear of where that third or fourth spot was going to be with everybody else. It was pretty much a battle, and I think it never really got completely defined even throughout the season, because I feel like I got some playing time, and a few other guys got some playing time in that spot as well. But I mean that's probably the thing I love most about that year is just I got a chance to learn by watching these guys, but also got a chance to get a lot of reps myself. And I think doing that without really taking a break from playing football from my senior year of high school up until my freshman year of college really propelled me that second camp in order to really be the guy that year, and win out the starter position once those older guys left.
Yeah. What was that like? Getting kind of thrust into the starting position your second year. A lot of expectations going into that year.
Yeah. No, I mean it was definitely surreal just knowing I probably was even the highest recruited running back in my class, but from having a pretty no, I'd say a really good season my freshman year, as far as, establish a name for myself, and then, put in the work in order to take that position. I was ready to go. I was humming. And, at the beginning of my sophomore year, I just remember that first game was great up until the very end, where I ended up getting my high ankle sprain, and that kind of just lingering throughout the season, and kind of just I felt like it was just like the spiral of my just injury littered career. Unfortunately, I can see a lot of things going differently if that never happened. But I mean, in hindsight, there's nothing that can be done. It's just a game of football, and like I said, I was always a person that go out there and compete. Love the game of football, probably more than anybody else. And it was hard. It was hard to kind of just continue to stay part of the team, continue to do this, and continue to feel like you're the number one guy. Having injuries and bouncing back, from recovering from this or whatever. But I always told guys is that that feeling of being injured was never worse than the feeling of getting a chance to go back out there on the field. And that's what I valued most. And, that's what I look forward, and, helped me push through a lot of those recovery times throughout my career.
Yeah, man. Being injured can be a dark place sometimes.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's easy to distance yourself away from the team when you're injured, and props to you got to give thanks to like your teammates keeping you a part of things, find different ways to stay included, and I think that is something that helped me kind of just stay included. Is I started being a student of the game. I think I was able to learn a lot my freshman year, because Brian was our OC, and, learning his system, he taught us, everything about it my freshman year. And, that kind of just continued to last throughout my years, being able to learn from him and my other running backs coach that ended up coming through there, that I just continued to learn as much as I can, even though I wasn't, the guy like I was my sophomore year. I was always a factor, or somebody that can come in and make a change, or just be a reliable source. I think it was like words that we used to want to, like, one words that we wanted to have like describe our year that year, that the coaches want us to kind of be like, at the end of the day, what do you want someone to say that you are? And one thing I had was be Mr. Reliable, be someone that, if you need to get in there in a situation, that they know they can trust you and you can go out there and get the job done. And then that continued to evolve from being Mr. Reliable to Mr. Go-To, like in any situation. Who's going to be my go-to in that situation? And I think that's kind of just always been my mentality, even as I move past football, is, just be someone can trust. Don't give anyone a reason not to, put you out there on the field or put you in some type of position of responsibility.
Well, yeah, and be Mr. Reliable too, and the fact that like you can trust that you're going to be a veteran voice, something like a mentor to other guys in the room too. So I feel like that's definitely a role that you kind of took when you were unfortunately forced to take a step back from your on the field duties due to injury. You're a guy that your teammates obviously had a tremendous amount of respect for still.
Yeah, you never wanted to go for the Russell Wilson Mr. Unlimited. That wasn't the third option.
Yeah,
I didn't want to. That you didn't want to go that route.
No, thank you.
Ivory Kelly-Martin.
That was a shitty joke. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. That was great, man. Hawkeyes, let's fly.
I try to stay away from the cringe aspect of it all.
Ivo, you played in 4 games in 2019, your third year. That's what it says on the website, at least.
I play in 3 games.
3 games? Did you redshirt?
I redshirted my third year.
Okay, so then you had 1 more year. Am I correct?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Can you walk me through that process? Because you ended up with a true redshirt year, and then you had the COVID redshirt.
Yep.
If you wanted it, can you walk me through that process? I mean, you go to 2020 and 2021. You obviously still a huge contributor in those years.
Yeah.
And then you have a chance to come back for a 6th year in 2022, which is 6 years, man. I mean, it is crazy. I can sense maybe why you didn't want to do that already, but like, could you walk us through that in your words?
I mean, kind of a little bit what you said. I mean, nowadays a 6 year is like, yeah, I'll do a 6 year just because it's like the opportunity that's out there with NIL and all that stuff is pretty wild. But I mean, at the time I was looking so much forward that I knew that I had some injuries stemming from my college years, and I was finally going into an off season where I was going to be healthy, and I was like, all right, now I can really, grind it out, get a chance to get my foot in the door or some NFL team and kind of, create my brand right there, because I always had the mentality of, I'm going to be the best guy in the room. And not only it's great having that mentality because you're going to come in there as an underdog. But in your mind, you're going to be the hardest worker and you're going to go in and work. And I knew I had the ability to kind of earn my way into any room. So I decided to declare and move on from Iowa, even though I had 1 more year, and take a shot with the league. Training and everything went great all the way up until pro day, where I ended up having a really good pro day, putting up some really good numbers, but I'm running a flat route on the left side, and as I turn up on my flat route, I feel a little click in my knee, the same knee I had tore my a year before my last season there, and I was like, oh snap, it kind of hurt a little bit. finished up pro day, continued, never drop a football, went out and ran fine up until the next day where this thing is throbbing, swelled up on me. So I'm like, here we go again, and I ended up having to get my knee scoped and get a quick surgery on it, which was a quick recovery time. But because of that, kind of a lot of NFL teams shied away from inviting me up to a camp. So I had to take the next option, which, next option was go up to CFL and, try to make a name for myself up there, prove that I can go play with those guys. And again, I had 100% confidence in my ability. I knew I can go out there and compete. I took a job with the Calgary Stampeders. I was there for a few weeks before I ended up having another just injury in practice. It was came in to pick up a block, came in to pick up a blitzer. In the CFL, they got a 12-man football, so they got a receiver coming in motion, and he's, into protection too. As I'm picking up my protection, the receiver kind of comes in there with his shoulder and just smashes my wrist against this linebacker and pops a bone out of my wrist. Actually. And in the moment, I'm like, God, that hurt. But I just ran to the sideline, got my wrist taped up, and finished practice. Crazy part, I had a great practice and ended up, scoring a touchdown in a 2-minute drill. And, I'm sitting in film the next day, and that entire morning I was in like ridiculous amounts of pain just because my wrist was throbbing. And I ended up, getting a quick x-ray, and then, didn't think much of it. Just went back to the facility, was in meetings until our head trainer had called me out of meetings and, sent me to the hospital to get emergency surgery done on my wrist because I had a dislocated bone in my wrist that was I was shoved up against some of my nerves in my hand and just causing like ridiculous amounts of pain. Luckily, it wasn't any permanent damage, so they was able to get it pretty fast. But it was just a lot of unfortunate injuries that kind of just littered my career. And it's just game football. It's nothing you can do about it. Some people have completely different stories, and, that's great for them. And, I'm happy with, what I've been able to do in football. Not many people can say they made it to Division I institution and play at the highest level of football. I played against some of the greatest players playing today, playing with some of the greatest players playing today, so at the end of the day, I can look back and say I gave it my all, I gave it my all, and unfortunately my body just wasn't able to keep up.
So it's crazy because for every feel good story out there of the guy that made it, there's 1, 2, maybe 3 of shit just went the wrong way for him, Nothing you could have done about it, but just didn't work out. I think about Drew Rod all the time about what could have been. Dude probably still be in the league to this day. But
Drake claims he was the best.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that by any means, but yeah. What so obviously football is done for you now. What do you take away from that? It's like you were there, you're living your dream, and then it just keep getting tugged away from you, just inch by inch by inch. What do you take away from that? What do you move forward with from your experience?
Probably the biggest thing is just not to take any play out there for granted. Take maximum advantage of every opportunity to go out there. I was always a competitor anytime I went out there. I wasn't going to start a play, whether it was a walkthrough or whatever it was. I'm going to try to win every single rep. And that's the same thing I tell my guys today. Don't go out there and not be ready to compete. Any opportunity you get out there to go out onto that field, make the most out of it. Because you're either getting better or you're getting worse. So never take any of that stuff for granted was my biggest thing. And kind of, I think I said this earlier, but I mean, getting back, the recovery process is hard. It's tough. It's lonely. But the feeling of getting back out there on that field is the greatest feeling of all.
Yeah.
So,
continue
to fight for that.
Being on the sidelines a couple of times myself, it's, I said earlier, it's a dark place. Like for competitive people, I'm sure you've kind of felt the same way. Like it can be depressing, seeing your opportunity kind of get grabbed away from you. Like, like maybe you get passed up on the roster or, like this was going to be your year and just one bad step and it gets taken away from you. It can be really, really demoralizing. It's tough to push through. But when you do and you get back on the field, like you said, it's almost like it's all worth it in the end. But it's still kind of lingers in the back of your head, like, hey, what would have happened if I just put my arm in a little slightly different place, or just took a step just slightly different. Who knows what would be here today?
At the end of the day, it's all football. It's nothing you can really do. I mean, hindsight, sure, maybe if you didn't do that rep, then maybe this wouldn't happen. At the end of the day, it's football. You can't play football or coach football expecting something to happen. You just got to go out there and do it. So
yeah, I think it'd almost be naive if you're not a specialist to expect to go 4 or 5 years in D1 college football without at least one significant injury. There's guys that do it that are just made of carbon fiber apparently, but Kluwer's internet strikes again.
Sure, that was a great comment.
I'm sure that
was brilliant.
I'm sure it's quite witty. But yeah, man. So, and here you are today, coming back to the beginning. Got your own running backs room. What is this gonna be your first time recruiting? Were you recruiting for your previous job at all, or is just kind of who showed up on campus?
Yeah, the way we recruited here at my previous job, just because it was an NAIA school, so smaller, and we only really recruited the Kansas area or the area around, and I had like a certain amount of counties that I really recruited, and it's just hard to get guys from kind of all over to come out here when there's so many other spots along the way, into like a small town in Kansas that they probably never ever heard of. But it's still good to just get that practice in, meet new guys, get a chance to talk to young guys that's looking. I think once I could always introduce myself to some people, they always looked up to me after that point. I have a little bit of credibility thanks to my background, and then also just show them, my passion for coaching football and, the way I go out there on the field, because I was always a guy where, I'd say anybody to tell me that I'm a pretty quiet dude, in the facility or kind of just walking around campus or in the classroom or whatever. But when I get out there on that football field, I just hit a whole nother mode, It's just somewhere I feel most comfortable at. I'm able to get on dudes, teach dudes, and, just show my real passion for the game and, how much fun I have out of it.
It's a beautiful thing, right? It's almost like its own little world when you step on the field, right? It's like the outside world just melts away and you're just there with the purity of the game, especially during practice. You don't have to worry about all the bullshit going on. You're just working at getting better at the game that you love. So now recruiting for Bemidji, you got assigned states, or like what's recruiting look like for that?
Yep, I'm gonna be recruiting Chicagoland area, so it's gonna be great for me to get back to my roots. Go to
spend a lot of nights at Mom and Pa's.
Yep, I'll be Actually, my parents, it's crazy. They actually live down in Florida now.
Oh, good for them.
Oh.
My parents moved down to Florida too from Chicago. So
Yep. They had to get out of Chicago. So, but I still got plenty of other family that lives down there. So I'll be happy to go visit them any chance I get. Going to some mega camps or whatever it is going on out there in Chicago this June.
What were you a Nazareth guy, right?
Yes, I was a Naz guy. Say it again.
Yeah, so they got a really good program there. Is your head coach still there?
Tim Rackey? Yeah, he's still the head coach up there.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to find some guys from there. They always seem to have a pretty solid squad. You guys would have won state title, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I got my sophomore and junior year. We won the state championships up there. I actually transferred from there my senior year.
I want to say I went to
somewhere else.
You guys beat Lamont one year?
Yep.
Yeah. How was that game?
We played Lamont my sophomore year. They had Flynn Nagel.
Yep, I know the Nagel family.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, he went to Northwestern. Yeah,
went to Northwestern. Yeah, he was just hard to tackle. He was wasn't the biggest guy, but I mean, he had just crazy speed and low contact balance. I think there was one play. So I think our game plan the entire time, because he was probably the only really good player. My brother was playing safety at the time, and I was playing corner.
Mm-hmm.
This was my sophomore year, and we were just going to double team him the entire game. I was pressing him, and my brother was help over the top. No, other way around. I was help over the top. My brother was pressing him at the line of scrimmage, and we were in the red zone, and they run a little screen, and where they're trying to hit a bubble, and he's coming to block, but he releases on the gas and takes it up. So I bite on the bubble, and then he takes off, and then I don't fully bite. My brother bit, but I still stayed over the top, and the ball is just hanging up in the air, and I kind of just lost all hope and pretty much just tackled him. So I'm like, oh snap! I'm sitting here one-on-one. This dude's ready to go D1, and I'm just a sophomore. I thought I was beat. I didn't know where the ball was. I just knew I couldn't let him score a touchdown, so I just tackled the dude. But
hey man,
we ended up winning. I don't think they ended up scoring then, so I saved a touchdown at least. Probably could have been a pick though, unfortunately.
Yeah, high school football, you just got to do what you got to do.
You just got
to survive out there.
Yeah, on the defensive side, man, I like hitting these, but I probably didn't have the best technique or feel for the defensive side. But put the rock in my hand. Yeah, that's where I felt most.
I'm sure if you would have came to the defensive side of Iowa, Phil would have gotten you all squared away, no doubt.
Yeah, I got no doubt. I wasn't scared to make contact, and I think that's probably one of his favorite features.
Got to be able to set the edge, man.
Exactly.
So I imagine you got a couple schools that you got circled. Keep eyes out for dudes. You obviously don't have to disclose that here, but yeah, I feel like that's definitely helpful to have an idea of where to look around for talent in the area.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably one thing I just struggled with since kind of recruiting the Kansas area is, I don't really know what those go-to schools are.
Yeah.
I can do a little networking in order to find that out. But in the Chicagoland area, I feel so much comfortable because I know what are the schools to really inspect. And still, you got to do your research. You still got to go do your research. It could be a dude anywhere. And I think that's something I gained from, going to a small town schools, being able to do those research. Do that research and find some diamonds in the rough. So I'll be looking and trying to find those guys.
Yeah, especially as like a D2 program, like you can't go on Rivals and say, okay, who's all the 3-star running backs in the area? You got to be able to evaluate talent on your own, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, you got to be able to turn the film up. And so what are some things that you're looking in dudes? Like say you pop the film on the highlight tapes, like what are like 1 or 2 things that you're looking for to pop out and scream if like hey, I want to reach out to this guy and see about, recruiting him?
So just talking from like the running back perspective,
Yeah.
Some things that I feel like I value most, with like what I think would be a good indicator of what a elite running back is. Someone that has really good contact balance, someone that's not afraid to make contact, and someone that's always falling forward. Breakaway speed is great. Size is if you're able to hit those metrics is amazing. But I want to see how you play. Like what's your mentality. How you finish a run, whether you're finishing it in the end zone or you're using your vision to set up blocks in front of you, and then when you do see a hole, how fast can you hit that hole? How fast can you get through it? So vision, contact balance, the attributes will speak for itself as far as height and weight and measurements and stats and everything, but just that mentality of punishing the tackler when you get a chance. And that's just what I've seen from some of the good running backs I've been around. Those are the main things that they have in their game.
Yeah, there's coming from the defensive side. It's like you can tell on film the guys who, like you said, finish runs are always falling forward, are delivering the blow to the defender, and you see that on film as a defender, and you're just like, this guy's gonna be a bitch to tackle. And I feel like that's
4 quarters.
Exactly.
Tackling for 4 quarters, man.
It's
I catch them a few times at the beginning, but eventually those defenders ain't gonna come the same way. So
with Marshawn's quote is like, I'm gonna get got, but I'm gonna get them got more than I get got, or something like that. It's like
it's poetry. It's very Mostly they say about like Jeanty right now. It's like when guys try and tackle them, they look like they're getting electrocuted. It's like the quote I kept hearing about even him. So I was like, no.
But I feel like you can't teach that, right? It's just kind of something on the inside of guys. So, but it definitely does pop up on film when you're watching it.
Yeah, kind of like you said, Coach Parker. With Miles, you want to have a guy that you got to pull back. You don't want to have a guy that you got to tell him to go a little harder, show more effort. You want a guy that, all right, let's hone that effort in a little bit.
Chill. You can chill right now, man. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's
Friday
walkthrough. Okay? So when you get the guys in the room that you got, what's going to be like your mantra as a coach? Like, what do you want your identity as the running backs for Bemidji State to be? So
I tell my guys the 3 C's.
Okay, I like it.
Consistency, competitiveness, and then camaraderie. Those is what I feel is the greatest things that come from the game of football. Just consistency, taking out every opportunity, to play your hardest, to be your best, opportunity to go out and get better. And then showing that same mentality in all aspects of life, because I'm not just teaching them football, I'm teaching them, kind of how to be men in the real world. And if you're the same person out there on a football field, hard work ethic and everything, and then you go out there into the classroom, same thing, hard work ethic, trying to be the first one there and, compete and, do good work and, being a respectable person inside the building to whoever's in there, have some consistency, come and be the same person every single day. Competitiveness, that's just wanted to be better, wanted to compete against the next person. Iron sharpens iron, as far as in the running back room specifically, everybody should feel like they're the number one guy. And, that's how I think I've always been throughout my career, and just kind of help me or help some of my teammates continue to get better, is competing against one another, but also competing against that guy on the other side of the football, making each other better. And then camaraderie, the 3rd C. It's just everybody trying to fight for one goal. Everybody's trying to accomplish one goal. People from all different types of backgrounds. The most beautiful thing about football, you got guys coming from New York and small town Iowa. You get guys from all over the place, even overseas now. So but we're all really just trying to fight for that same goal. We're all trying to go win a championship, trying to be the best player, trying to make it to the next level, and understanding that, putting in the effort throughout the school year, throughout the off season, those hard summer workouts, getting through it. That's where you build that camaraderie, that relationship with your guys, and then just continue
I
playing.
love it, man. Like you said, you take those things, from football, consistency, camaraderie, competitiveness. You take it to the real world. You're going to have a tremendous amount of success, especially with consistency. I think that's the most important thing is when you get out in the real world is doing quality work over again. I saw a quote, I think just the other day, is like, be consistently, it was like something along the lines is like comparing a candle to a firework. It's like, it's better to be consistently good versus occasionally remarkable.
Yeah. Because like the difference between a good player and a great player is just a great player is able to be good over a long period of time. How long can you keep up your level of greatness and really, leave the jersey in a better place, or, set a legacy for yourself.
Leave the jersey in a better place, man. That was
exactly
definitely one to kind of take home and wear as a badge of honor for when I was at Iowa. Definitely, it's like just carry it to the next spot. Make sure that that the program's in a better spot than when you picked it up. That's about all I got. Grant, you got any questions before we let Ivo go?
Yeah, sure. No, two things. While we're talking about your coaching, I do love the way you approach the game. Dude, I think you're going to be a great coach. Is there anything from the coaches at Iowa that you're specifically stealing and going to use as in your coaching career? Like, did anyone have like any like, oh, I love the way that they phrased this, or like this specific way that they coached a technique or something that you want to apply to your ability to coach?
Yeah, there's a lot of little things that I feel I still take from the coaches at Iowa, whether that's like terminology I use, kind of simplify things for my guys. But I mean, to this day, I still talk to a lot of my coaches from Iowa, and their main message to me has always been kind of stemming off my consistency point is make sure you're preaching the right things. Make sure whatever your standard is, make sure you uphold your guys to that standard and continue to preach that standard and verbally say it or whatever it is, but find different ways to say it, because everybody's different. You're not going to be able to coach one guy the same way you coach somebody else. And if you're able to find different ways to say it, maybe you might get, this guy one day, and then you're still saying the same thing, but in a different way, and you get that next player the next day. You're eventually getting everybody on board, but it's hard when you are trying to preach the standard, but you're also trying to do so many different things. That's one thing I think Iowa did really well at is they didn't preach a whole lot of different things. They try to simplify it as much as they can for us as far as, the standard and making sure we all upheld to the standard. And because they made it so, simplified, it was they were able to be so strict about it, and hold us all accountable and, teach us a little bit of discipline, I'm super grateful for.
Yeah, sure. And then,
but like effort too, I think that's one more thing I want to say, because I was always an effort guy, giving maximum effort, and I was never a guy that was going to catch a football and just stop. I want to see you go and finish. Catch that football, and break up the field for at least 2 lines.
Sure.
Every time.
And then last thing, you mentioned the CFL. I think it's interesting because it is still it's professional football, but compared to like the league in the NFL, different rules. Like you mentioned, the 12 players on the field, crazy. Is there anything like in those practices that you like, was it throwing you off at all? Like, or you had to consistently remind yourself, like, oh, you get like this certain amount of yards off the line of scrimmage at first. Like, what if anything was throwing you off with the new CFL rules? Or how was that difference even, like having to, you play football one way for so long, and then they throw these changes at you?
Yeah. Yeah, the main thing, I mean, a few of the differences I could take off the top of my head is 12-man football, 3-down football, which was different for me. The running motions, larger fields, longer touchdowns, wider fields and whatnot. And the biggest thing was just like the names of positions were different just because there was an extra guy out there on the defense. So I had to kind of learn defense a little bit differently. And just some of the blocking responsibilities, special team rules. That don't even get me started with special team rules.
Well, I see on I see that clip come up every year. It's like the guy hits a game-winning missed extra point because if you kick it so far, you get a point anyway instead of you get 2 points.
Yeah, they get like onside punch and stuff like that. They just
onside punt, yes.
Punt it 1 yard, and I don't even know, something like that. But yeah, it was at the end of the day, besides some of those like fundamental things and special situations, it was still just X's and O's of football. As far as in the trenches, we're still going to run a gap scheme. We're still going to run, wide zone or mid zone, and get a hat on a hat and. At the running back position, you got one guy to go beat, so go beat him.
I just got to imagine. I mean, everyone talks about, it's professional football. It's a different speed. Guys are going fast, and then they add in these new rules too. I'm sure it's sneaky difficult.
I mean, CFL has been here a lot longer than the NFL, and they got really good coaches up there too, and really good players. So I was thankful to have an opportunity to go.
No, it's a cool league. Yeah.
How was Calgary? I mean, I guess, you're not going to be that much afraid of the cold weather in Bemidji since you spent some time in Calgary.
Yeah, exactly. There was snow on the ground in June. There was snow on the ground, so I mean, exactly. I mean, weather I've never really been too affected by the elements.
It's all mental, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all mental.
I think I saw a jackrabbit for the first time out there. I didn't know what.
Those things are pretty big, aren't they?
Pretty big, yeah, without a doubt. Looks like a rabbit, but looks like a small.
Like legitimately looks like Bugs Bunny, right?
Yes, literally with the long ears.
Are you allowed to hunt them?
I have no idea.
Don't tell anyone about it.
Yeah, they're out there, so I'm sure.
Well, you might see some hopping down to Bemidji too. They're pretty far up there.
Yeah, I think they have black bears.
I'm sure you'll run into a bear or two. Yeah.
Oh, there'll be some wildlife up there.
I'll probably run into a few bears up there. Probably some pretty big deer. The animals got to be pretty meaty up there in order to stay warm in the winter. So
some beavers too, right? Bemidji beavers.
Yep. Playing beavers.
I'm going to get like a hoodie or something for Bemidji. Yeah, that beaver logo. I'm going to be repping. I'm going to be supporting the team for sure.
So every year
green and gold looks pretty sick.
Every year we have like our adjacent team that we root for. Last year was it last year or 2 years ago? We were big JMU Dukes fans.
Well, I mean, we're always like we supported them last year, but 2 years ago was when they were locked out of the they were ineligible for any postseason. Because they just moved up from FCS.
That's right.
They were like 11-0. So we were taking the stand. We stand with JMU, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
We're gonna be a Bemidji State adjacent podcast this year, so we'll be rooting you. We'll be tracking you guys and wish you all the best of luck.
Tune in. It's gonna be a fun season.
We appreciate your time, man. It was so good to catch up with you. Yes, it was awesome to hear your story and excited for your future, man.
Same here. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys letting me on here and keep on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man. We just got a text from Kluver that this might be the last episode. He's very distraught with the state of his internet. So we're gonna cap it off with a good one here. So For all you fans out there, I
There it
hope you
is.
enjoyed it. 604 episodes strong.
Wow, what a run!
I finally got to host one myself, so we're
Grand
grand finale. Yeah. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time. Maybe, we don't know, but peace. Grant, go ahead and cut it.
Yeah.